Richard's hands trembled slightly as he held the manila folder. Emma had never seen her father look so uncertain, so vulnerable. The October morning light filtered through the study windows, illuminating dust motes that danced between them like secrets waiting to be revealed. "Dad, what is that?" Richard opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. Emma could see they were bank statements, legal documents, and what looked like correspondence from attorneys. "Emma, your mother and we haven't been completely honest with you about our financial situation." Emma felt her stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "Jake's businesses haven't just been unsuccessful, they've been disasters. The food truck was repossessed, the app company left us liable for $30,000 in development costs. And now the brewery." Richard pulled out a foreclosure notice dated just 2 weeks ago. "We're going to lose the house." Emma sank into the chair across from her father's desk, the same chair where she used to sit as a child while he helped her with homework. "How is that possible? You've lived here for 15 years. You told me you almost had it paid off." "We did. But we took out a second mortgage to fund Jake's food truck. Then a third mortgage for the app company. The brewery required us to liquidate our retirement accounts and take out personal loans." Emma stared at the foreclosure notice, trying to process what she was hearing. "Dad, why didn't you tell me?" "Because we didn't want to burden you. And because ... Richard's voice broke slightly. "Because we kept thinking Jake would finally succeed. That all the sacrifices would be worth it." Emma looked around the study, again, seeing it with new eyes. The Jake Shrine wasn't a celebration of success, it was a monument to desperate hope. "Does Jake know?" "He knows we're having some financial difficulties, but not the full extent. Your mother and I decided to handle it ourselves, by asking me to contribute to his next venture." Richard's face crumpled. "Emma, we're drowning. We thought maybe if Jake's brewery actually worked this time, ... Dad, it's not going to work. None of Jake's businesses work because he doesn't actually run them. He comes up with ideas and expects other people to make them happen." Richard pulled out another documented, detailed business plan for Jake's brewery. Emma flipped through it and her jaw dropped. "Dad, this entire business plan is plagiarized. Look." She pointed to a section about market analysis. "This is literally copied and pasted from a brewery in Colorado. He didn't even change the location demographics." Richard leaned over to look, and Emma watched the last bit of hope drain from his face. "There's more," Emma continued, flipping through the pages. "The financial projections are completely unrealistic. He's projecting $500,000 in revenue in the first year. But he has no distribution plan, no marketing strategy, and no actual brewing experience. But he took that online course." "Dad, you can't run a brewery based on a 4-week online course." They sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Richard spoke again. "Emma, there's something else you need to know. The reason we've always focused so much on Jake... He pulled out a letter from the bottom of the folder. It was written in a child's handwriting, dated 15 years ago. "This is a letter Jake wrote to us when he was 13. He'd just failed 7th grade, and we were considering making him read it. Emma unfolded the letter, recognizing Jake's messy handwriting. "Dear Mom and Dad, I know I'm not smart like Emma. I know I'm not good at school like her. I know you're disappointed in me. But I promise I'll find something I'm good at. I promise. I'll make you proud someday. Please don't give up on me like everyone else has. Love, Jake." Emma felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Dad... We never wanted him to feel like he was living in your shadow. Emma, you were always so accomplished, so self-sufficient. Jake needed more help, more encouragement. But Dad, I needed encouragement too. I needed to know you were proud of me. We are proud of you. We took you for granted because you were doing so well on your own." Emma looked at her father, really looked at him and saw a man who had spent 15 years trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed with money and enablement. "Dad, where does this leave us now?" "Practically speaking," Richard pulled out the final documented timeline from their attorney. "We have 60 days before the foreclosure becomes final. We've been trying to negotiate with the bank, but they want the full amount, $340,000. How much of that is from Jake's businesses?" "About $280,000. Emma felt angry tears burning her eyes. "Dad, you and Mom sacrificed your entire future for Jake's pipe dreams. Emma, he's our son. We love him. I'm your daughter. You love me too, don't you?" "Of course we do." "Then why was it okay to sacrifice my future too? Do you realize I've been living like I'm poor because I didn't want to ask you for help? Do you realize I've been turning down job opportunities because I thought I needed to stay here and take care of you?" Richard looked genuinely shocked. "Emma, we never asked you to do that. You didn't have to ask. I could see you struggling. I could see Mom getting gray hair and Dad losing weight from stress. I stayed because I love you, but you never even noticed. The study door opened, and Margaret walked in carrying a cup of coffee for Richard. Oh, Emma, you're here. I hope you've reconsidered helping Jake with. She stopped when she saw the documents spread across the desk. Richard, what are you doing? I told her, Margaret. About the house, about the debt, about everything. Margaret's face went white. You weren't supposed to tell her. We agreed we would handle this ourselves. Mom, you can't handle this, Emma said. Dad just showed me Jake's business plan. It's completely fake. He copied it from another brewery. That's not Jake, WOULDN single quotes. T. Emma handed her mother the business plan. Margaret read it in silence, her hands shaking. Maybe he just used it as a template. Margaret said weakly, Mom, look at this section. It talks about the thriving craft beer scene in downtown Denver. We live in New Jersey. Margaret sank into the other chair, the business plan falling from her hands. What are we going to do? She whispered. The three of them sat in the study, surrounded by 15 years of financial documents that told the story of a family's destruction through misguided love. We need to tell Jake the truth, Emma said finally. We can't, Margaret said immediately. It will crush him. Mom, he's 28 years old. He needs to know that his actions have consequences. But what if he can't handle it? What if? What if he has to get a real job like the rest of us? What if he has to face reality? Richard spoke up. Emma, your brother has never had to deal with real failure before. We've always cushioned the blow. Dad, that's the problem. You've taught him that someone else will always clean up his messes, but there's no one left to clean up this mess. Margaret was crying now. I just wanted both my children to be happy. Mom, I haven't been happy in years. I've been surviving. While you poured everything into Jake's happiness, and look where it got us. Emma stood up and gathered the documents. I'm going to talk to Jake. Emma, wait. Richard called. Let us handle this. You've been handling this for 15 years, Dad. Look how that worked out. Emma left the study and walked upstairs to Jake's bedroom. She could hear him on the phone, probably with another potential investor he was trying to charm. She knocked on the door. Come in, Jake called cheerfully. Emma opened the door to find Jake sitting on his king-size bed, surrounded by brewery merchandise samples and marketing materials that had cost their parents thousands of dollars. Perfect timing. I was just talking to a guy who might want to distribute our beer in 3 states. This is huge. Emma closed the door behind her and sat on the edge of the bed. Jake, we need to talk. Jake ended his phone call and turned to Emma with the same confident smile that had charmed their parents for 28 years. His room looked like a startup office, whiteboards covered with business ideas, boxes of promotional materials, and a professional-looking desk setup that had cost their father 2 months of salary. What's up, sis? You look serious. Emma took a deep breath. Jake, do you know how much money Mom and Dad have spent on your businesses? Jake's smile faltered. Slightly. I know they've been generous, but Emma, that's what families do. They invest in each other's dreams. It's not an investment if there's no return, Jake. It's just throwing money away. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize you were so bitter about my success. What success? Emma asked, her voice rising. Jake, name one successful business you've run. The food truck was successful until it was repossessed because you couldn't make the payments. The app company would have been huge if my business partner hadn't. If your business partner hadn't realized you expected him to do all the actual work while you handled big picture strategy. Jake stood up, his face reddening. Emma, why? Are you being so hostile? I thought you came up here to support me. Emma pulled out the foreclosure notice from behind her back. Jake, Mom and Dad are losing the house. Jake's confident facade cracked. What do you mean losing the house? I mean they're being foreclosed on in 60 days because they've borrowed against it 3 times to fund your businesses. Jake took the notice with trembling hands. Emma watched his face as he read it, seeing the moment when reality finally broke through his carefully constructed delusions. This can't be right. They said they just needed to adjust some finances. Jake, they've liquidated their retirement savings. They've taken out personal loans. They're $340,000 in debt. And $280,000 of that is directly from your failed businesses. Jake sank onto his bed, the foreclosure notice falling from his hands. For the first time in years, Emma saw her brother without his mask of confidence. I didn't know it was this bad, he whispered. Because you never asked. You just kept asking for more money and assuming they had it. But they never said no. Because they love you, Jake, because they've been enabling you since you were 13 years old. Jake looked up at her. What do you mean, since I was 13? Emma pulled out the letter their father had shown her. Dad showed me this today. Jake read his own words from 15 years ago, and Emma watched him remember the scared, insecure 13-year-old who had written it. I just wanted to make them proud, he said quietly. Jake, you could have made them proud by getting a job and being a responsible adult. Instead, you've bankrupted them. Jake's vulnerability quickly turned to defensiveness. Emma, you don't understand. I'm an entrepreneur. Regular jobs aren't for people like me. People like you. Jake, what makes you special? I think big. I see opportunities that other people miss. Emma gestured around the room. Where are the results of all this big thinking? Where are the profits? Where are the successful businesses? Business takes time. You have to be willing to fail in order to succeed. Jake, you've been failing for 10 years. At what point do you admit that maybe entrepreneurship isn't your calling? Jake stood up again, his anger returning. So what? I should just give up. Get some soul-crushing office job like Dad. Dad's soul-crushing office job paid for this house, your college tuition, your car, and every single business venture you've started. Dad's soul-crushing office job kept this family afloat while you played entrepreneur. I'm not playing anything. Then prove it. Show me one concrete result from any of your businesses. Show me $1 of profit. Show me one satisfied customer. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, the brewery is different. I've learned from my mistakes. Emma pulled out his business plan. Jake, you plagiarized this entire plan from a brewery in Colorado. Jake's face went pale. I didn't plagiarize it. I used it as a reference. You copied it word for word and didn't even change the location. Your market analysis talks about downtown Denver. Jake grabbed the plan and flipped through it frantically. Emma watched him realize that his latest big idea was just another fantasy built on stolen work and unrealistic expectations. I was going to customize it more, he said weakly. Jake, you've been working on this for 8 months. You've already spent $150,000 of mom and dad's money on equipment you don't know how to use, based on a business plan you stole from someone else. Jake sat back down, his head in his hands. Emma, I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to take responsibility. I want you to get a real job. I want you to help save mom and dad's house instead of being the reason they're losing it. I can't just get a regular job. I don't have any experience. You have a college degree. I dropped out, remember? Then get your GED. Go to community college. Start somewhere. Jake, you're 28 years old. Most people your age have been working for 6 years already. Jake looked up at her with tears in his eyes. Emma, I'm scared. What if I'm not good at anything? For the first time in years, Emma saw her brother as the insecure 13-year-old who had written that letter to their parents. Jake, you'll never know what you're good at if you don't try. But you can't keep destroying our family while you figure it out. What do you think I should do? Emma sat back down beside him. I think you should go downstairs and have an honest conversation with mom and dad. I think you should apologize for not taking their sacrifices seriously. And I think you should get a job, any job, and start contributing to the household instead of just taking from it. What kind of job? I don't know, Jake. What did you like doing before you decided you were an entrepreneur? Jake thought for a moment. I was good at sales in high school. I sold the most candy bars for the football team fundraiser 3 years in a row. Then get a sales job. Start there and see where it leads. But what about the brewery? I've already invested so much, Jake. The brewery equipment is going to be repossessed along with the house unless we figure out how to pay off this debt. The brewery is over. Jake nodded slowly. Emma, I'm sorry. I didn't realize how bad things had gotten. Jake, it's not just about the money. It's about mom and dad's faith in you. They've sacrificed everything because they love you. And you've taken that love for granted. I know. I just ... I wanted to be successful so badly. Jake, success isn't about being an entrepreneur. Success is about being a responsible adult who contributes to his family and community. Dad is successful. He's worked the same job for 30 years and provided for his family. That's success. Jake stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the suburban street where he'd grown up. Emma, what if I'm too old to start over? You're 28, not 58. You have plenty of time to build a real career. Will you help me? Emma looked at her brother, really looked at him, and saw someone who had been lost for so long he'd forgotten what direction looked like. Jake, I'll help. You? But only if you're serious about changing. No more get-rich-quick schemes. No more asking mom and dad for money. No more excuses. I'm serious. I have to be serious now. Don't I? Emma nodded. We all do. We have 60 days to figure out how to save this house. They walked downstairs together and found their parents in the kitchen, both sitting at the table with papers spread between them. Margaret had been crying. and Richard looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past hour. Mom, Dad, Jake said, his voice shaking. Emma told me about the house, about the debt, about everything. Margaret looked up hopefully. Jake, we can still figure this out. Maybe if you're a brewery, Mom. There's no brewery. Emma's right. I've been living in a fantasy world while you and Dad sacrificed everything for me. Richard stood up slowly. Jake, we wanted to support your dreams, Dad. My dreams were destroying our family. Emma showed me the business plan I've been using. It's plagiarized. I stole it from another brewery and didn't even bother to change the location. Margaret gasped. Jake, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I'm going to get a real job. I'm going to help save the house. I'm going to be the son you deserved all along. Richard walked over and hugged Jokta first. Real hug Emma had seen between them in years. Son, we just want you to be happy. Dad, I haven't been happy. I've been terrified and covering it up with fake confidence. But I want to try to be happy in a real way now. Emma watched her family embrace, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. But she also knew that good intentions wouldn't save their house. They still had 59 days and $340,000 worth of problems to solve. Asterisk. 3 weeks had passed since the family meeting that changed everything. Emma sat in her father's study, which had been transformed from a shrine to Jake's failures, into a war room for saving their home. The walls were now covered with job listings, budget spreadsheets, and a detailed timeline counting down to the foreclosure deadline. Jake had surprised everyone, including himself, by landing a job at a local car dealership within a week of starting his search. It turned out his natural charisma, once directed toward impossible business ventures, translated well to selling cars. He'd already made 3 sales and earned his first legitimate paycheck in years. Emma, you've got to see this, Jake said, bursting into the study with an energy she recognized but had never seen applied to anything real before. What is it? I just got off the phone with my manager. They want to promote me to sales team leader. Apparently, I'm really good at training other salespeople. Emma looked up from her laptop where she'd been working on a freelance logo design project. Jake, that's amazing. How much does the promotion pay? An extra $800 a month plus bonuses. Based on team performance, Emma did quick math in her head. That's great, but we're still nowhere near what we need to save the house. Their parents walked into the study, both looking exhausted but more hopeful than they had in months. Richard had picked up extra consulting work on weekends, and Margaret had taken a part-time job at a local boutique. Kids, we need to have another family meeting, Richard said, settling into his desk chair. I've been running numbers with our attorney, and I think we need to face reality. Emma's heart sank. We can't save the house. Not this house, Richard said. Even with all of us working, even with the payment plan the bank offered, we'd need $200,000 upfront and monthly payments of $3,400. It's just not feasible. Margaret sat on the edge of the desk, her face resigned. Your father and I have been talking. We think we need to let the house go and start over somewhere smaller. Jake looked around the study, the room where he'd spent countless hours planning businesses that never worked. I did this. I destroyed our home. Jake, we all made choices, Richard said. But now we need to focus on solutions, not blame. Emma had been thinking about this possibility for weeks. Actually, I might have an idea, but it would require all of us to make some big changes. Her family looked at her expectantly. Sarah offered me that job in Portland. Remember? Well, I called her back. And not only is the position still available, but she also told me about something else. Her company is expanding, and they need someone to manage their East Coast operations. Emma, Portland is on the West Coast. Margaret said, I know, Mom. But the East Coast position would be based in New York City, and it pays $75,000 a year. Jake whistled. Emma, that's more than I'll make even with the promotion. Here's my idea, Emma continued. What if we sell this house not through foreclosure, but as a regular sale? We'll lose money, but we'll avoid bankruptcy. Then we pool our resources and rent a smaller place while we rebuild. Richard was already shaking his head. Emma, even if we could sell quickly enough to avoid foreclosure, we'd still owe the bank more than the house is worth. Dad, I ran the numbers. The house is worth about $290,000 in the current market. We owe $340,000. That leaves us $50,000 short. Exactly? We don't have $50,000. Emma took a deep breath. We do if I take the job in Portland instead of New York. Her family stared at her. The Portland job pays $85,000, plus they'll cover relocation expenses and give me a $10,000 signing bonus. I can take that money and combine it with what I've been saving to help cover the shortfall. Emma, you can't sacrifice your future to fix our mistakes, Margaret said. Mom, I'm not sacrificing anything. This is a great opportunity for me. I'll be doing work I love, making more money than I've ever made, and I'll be helping our family start over. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Emma, what about the New York job? Isn't that what you really want? Emma looked at her brother, seeing a maturity in his eyes that hadn't been there a month ago. Jake, 6 months ago, maybe. But I've realized something these past few weeks. What I really want is for our family to be okay. I want Mom and Dad to retire with dignity. I want you to have the chance to build a real career. I want all of us to stop living with the weight of these impossible debts. But Portland is so far away, Margaret said, tears starting to form. It's not forever, Mom. Once you and Dad are back on your feet, once Jake is established in his career, I can reassess. Maybe I'll come back to the East Coast. Maybe you'll come visit me in Portland. Maybe we'll all end up somewhere else entirely. Richard pulled out a calculator and started running numbers. Emma, even with your contribution, we'd be cutting it. Very close. And you'd be using up all your savings. Dad, I'm 25 years old. I can rebuild my savings. You and Mom are in your 60s. You can't rebuild your retirement. The room fell silent as everyone processed Emma's proposal. Finally, Jake spoke up. I want to contribute to Jake, you just started working, Emma. Hear me out. I've been doing research on the car business. There's a Ford dealership in New Hampshire that's looking for someone to help them expand their used car operations. The pay is better than what I'm making here, and New Hampshire has no state income tax. You want to move to New Hampshire? Margaret asked. I want to move somewhere I can make enough money to help fix what I broke. Mom, Dad, if Emma is willing to move across the country for us, the least I can do is move to New Hampshire. Emma felt tears welling up in her eyes. For the first time in years, her brother was putting family before his own desires. Jake, are you sure you'd be starting over again? Emma, I've been starting over every 6 months for the past 10 years. The difference is, this time I'd be starting over with a real job and a real plan. Richard looked at his two children, who had always been responsible but was now stepping up in ways he'd never imagined. And Jake, who was finally taking responsibility for his actions. Kids, your mother and I need to talk about this privately. But Emma, I want you to know, we're incredibly proud of you, both of you. Over the next 2 days, the Mitchell family worked together like they never had before. Richard contacted a real estate agent who specialized in quick sales. Margaret started researching rental properties in smaller, more affordable areas. Jake gave his 2 weeks' notice at the dealership and applied for the position in New Hampshire. Emma accepted the Portland job and began making arrangements for her cross-country move. The house sold faster than anyone expected. A young couple with 2 children fell in love with the colonial-style home and offered $285,000, not ideal, but close enough to their target to make the plan work. On the final Saturday before Emma's departure to Portland, the family gathered in the now empty study one last time. The Jake shrine was gone, replaced by boxers labeled for storage or donation. The walls were bare except for one photo that Emma had insisted they keep, a picture of the whole family from Emma's college graduation. The one day when everyone had been genuinely proud and happy together. I found something, Richard said, pulling a small wooden box from his desk drawer. I'd forgotten about this until I was packing up my desk. He opened the box to reveal a collection of Emma's childhood drawings and school award certificates for honor roll. Art contest ribbons, a handwritten story she'd written in 3rd grade about a girl who wanted to be an artist. Dad, you kept all of this. Your mother and I kept everything, Emma. We got so focused on helping Jake that we forgot to celebrate what we already had. Margaret wiped tears from her eyes. Emma, I need to apologize to you. We took your strength for granted. We assumed you didn't need our support because you were doing so well on your own. Mom, I did need your support. I needed to know that you saw my accomplishments, that you were proud of me too. We were proud of you. We are proud of you. We just didn't know how to show it. Jake picked up one of Emma's childhood crayon picture of their family standing in front of their house, everyone smiling and holding hands. Emma, I need to say something. I've been thinking about this a lot since we had that talk in my room. I was jealous of you. Emma looked surprised. Jealous of me? Jake, you are the golden child. You got everything you wanted. I got money and attention, but I never got respect. You earned Mom and Dad's respect through your achievements. I just got their pity through my failures. Jake, let me finish. I spent 10 years trying to prove I was as smart and capable as you, but I was going about it all wrong. I was trying to skip the hard work and jump straight to success. You never skipped the hard work. Emma felt a lump in her throat. Jake, I never thought of us as competing. I know. That's what made it worse. You weren't even trying to make me look bad. You just naturally did everything right while I naturally did everything wrong. Richard cleared his throat. Jake, you weren't doing everything wrong. You were just doing it in the wrong order. You were trying to be the CEO before you learned to be an employee. Dad, I think I understand that now. The car dealership has taught me more about business in 3 weeks than all my entrepreneurial ventures taught me in 10 years. Margaret gathered them all into a group hug. I'm going to miss having my children close by. Mom, we're not disappearing, Emma said. Jake will only be 4 hours away in New Hampshire. I'll be far, but I'll visit. And maybe this separation is what we need to become a healthier family. What do you mean? Richard asked. I mean, maybe. Jake and I both need to prove to ourselves and to youth that we can succeed independently. Maybe we need to build our own lives before we can have a healthy family relationship. Jake nodded. Emma's right. I've been living like a teenager in my childhood bedroom for too long. I need to learn how to be an adult. And I've been living like a caretaker, putting everyone else's needs before my own, Emma added. I need to learn how to prioritize myself without feeling guilty about it. The next morning, Emma loaded her Honda Civic with everything she could fit and prepared for the drive to Portland. Her parents stood in the driveway of their rental apartment top, modest 2-bedroom place in a nearby town that cost half what their mortgage had been. Are you sure you have everything? Margaret asked for the 5th time. Mom, I'm 25. I think I can handle a cross-country move. Jake pulled up in his own packed car, ready to head north to New Hampshire. He got out and walked over to Emma. Hey, sis, I wanted to give you something before we both disappear into our new lives. He handed her a small wrapped package. Emma opened it to find a framed photo of the two of them as children, building a sandcastle at the beach during a family vacation. I found this in my room when I was packing. Look how happy we were before everything got complicated. Emma studied the photo. In it, she and Jake were working together, both focused on the same goal, both smiling genuinely. Jake, we can be happy like this again. It just might look different than it did when we were kids. I hope so, Emma. I really hope so. They hugged a real hug, not the obligatory family hug they'd been exchanging for years. Take care of yourself in New Hampshire, Emma said. Take care of yourself in Portland, and Emma, yeah, thank you for not giving up on me, even when I'd given up on myself. Emma drove away from New Jersey that morning with tears in her eyes. But for the first time in years, they were tears of hope rather than frustration. 6 months later, Emma was thriving in Portland. Her job at the design firm had exceeded all her expectations, and she'd already been promoted to senior designer. She lived in a small but charming apartment in the Pearl District, had made friends through work in a local hiking group, and was dating a kind, funny graphic novelist named David. Jake had also found his footing in New Hampshire. The Ford dealership had indeed promoted him to used car manager, and he'd discovered he had a real talent for both sales and operations. He'd rented a small apartment, bought his first car without his parents' help, and had even started taking business classes at the local community college not to start another company, but to better understand the one he worked for. Their parents had adjusted to their smaller life in New Jersey. Richard had taken early retirement and was doing consulting work from home. Margaret had turned her part-time boutique job into a full-time position and discovered she loved retail management. They were debt-free for the first time in years and slowly rebuilding their savings. On a rainy Saturday in March, Emma's phone rang while she was working on a freelance project in her Portland apartment. Emma, it's Jake. I have news. Good news. Or bad news. Good news. Great news, actually. The dealership wants to open a second location, and they've asked me to manage it. Jake, that's incredible. It gets better. Emma, they're offering me a partnership stake. A small one, but still I'd be a part owner. Emma felt her eyes fill with tears. Jake, you did it. You actually did it. Emma, I couldn't have done it. Without that conversation we had in my bedroom, you saved my life. You saved all our lives. We saved each other, Jake. Emma, there's something else. Mom and Dad want to come visit you in Portland for your birthday. And I want to come too, if that's okay. Emma looked out her apartment window at the Portland skyline, thinking about how far they'd all come in less than a year. Jake, I would love that, but I have one condition. What's that? We're going hiking. All of us. I want to show you the mountains here. Jake laughed. Emma, you know I'm not exactly the outdoorsy type. You weren't exactly the responsible employee type either, but look how that turned out. Fair point. Okay, we'll go hiking. But if I fall off a cliff, I'm blaming you. Deal. After they hung up, Emma sat in her apartment thinking about the journey. Her family had they'd lost a house, but found themselves, they'd been separated by thousands of miles, but had become closer than they'd been in years. Her phone buzzed with a text from her dad. Emma, your mother and I are proud of you every single day. We should have told you that more often, but we're telling you now. Emma typed back, I love you too, Dad. All of you. That evening, Emma called Sarah to thank her for the job opportunity that had changed everything. Sarah, remember when you told me I needed to get out of that situation with my family? Of course. How are things going? You were right that I needed to leave. But you were wrong about why. What do you mean? I thought I needed to leave too. Escape my family's problems. But it turned out I needed to leave so we could all solve our problems. Sometimes the best way to help someone is to stop enabling them and start expecting better from them. And Jake, how's your brother doing? He's becoming the person he was always capable of being. He just needed someone to believe in him enough to stop making excuses for him. And your parents? They're learning that love isn't just about giving someone what they want. Sometimes it's about giving them what they need, even when that's harder for everyone. Emma looked around her Portland apartment, her first real home, earned through her own work and choices. On her desk was the framed photo Jake had given her, next to a new family photo from Christmas where everyone looked genuinely happy and proud. It had taken losing almost everything for the Mitchell family to find what really mattered. But sometimes, Emma thought, that's exactly what it takes to build something real on a foundation that will actually last. The wooden box of her childhood, achievements now sat on Emma's bookshelf, not hidden in a drawer but displayed proudly next to her new accomplishments, Employee of the Month certificate, photos from hiking trips, letters from clients praising her work. For the first time in her life, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do, surrounded by people who saw and appreciated who she really was. And the best part was knowing that her family scattered across the country, but finally healthy and whole, felt the same way. The end.